We'll go real fast. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Anderson, and this is the Anderson Analysis, and I'm Mike on the mic. And with me, as always, is
Jasmine Gray.
And joining us for the second time, a show favorite, I will say,
Yes,
is
absolutely.
Dr. Kathleen Ruddy. And if you missed the first episode that we did, what was the title of that? Do you remember the title of that? Follow the Money, I think. Was it Follow the Money? I think it was Follow the Money. I think it was Follow the Money.
Fascinating.
Fascinating episode. The best word you could use.
I learned so much.
I would say watch it. But let's dive right into it. We did talk about, and we have exchanged many conversations about the an unvaccinated blood directory registry, right? If you want to walk us through what you were working on involving that, and that would be fantastic.
Right. So Radius Health Exchange was conceived a little over a year ago by its founders who had in mind to create an online directory, kind of a yellow pages, of independent healthcare professionals who were willing to use their judgment to provide fully informed consent and freedom of choice with regard to healthcare decisions. And while that was a good place to start, there have been other entities, online companies that have tried to do similar things. We thought, well, we've got to find an edge here. And it occurred to us a year ago that providing unvaccinated blood for those patients who were looking for it would be a real service. The challenge was, how do you puzzle that out? How do you find unvaccinated donors? How do you find physicians and surgeons who are willing to fill out the forms to get that squared away? Where do you find centers that will facilitate that? And where do patients go to receive that blood, a direct blood donation? So we worked that out and we launched it. It is the country's first national, coast to coast, unvaccinated blood donor registry, and it works. So, for instance, I got a call today from a husband in Texas whose wife has uterine fibroids. These are benign growths in the uterus. She's 65 years old. She's had them for over 10 years. And they're producing a lot of bleeding. And she did not want to have a hysterectomy, and she didn't want to take any hormones. And so she bled and bled and bled and bled, and she was just bleeding like crazy. And she bled down to a hemoglobin of 5 over the weekend. And that's really not compatible with life, except I guess God wanted her to hang in there. And her husband got in touch with me, and he's like, please, we need to get her unvaccinated blood. And I'm like, yes, you do. So I was able to give him the directions that were required so that he can find unvaccinated blood. She's O negative. The physician and surgeons who can set it up, the facility where she can go and she can get the blood. And hopefully, once she's stable, we can then begin to address the problem of how to get those fibroid tumors to stop growing and causing her bleeding. So all across the country, there are patients who need blood and are looking for unvaccinated blood. And this is not an unreasonable request. It's not an unreasonable choice, because in January of this year, Danish scientists published a paper in which they found that 10% of the patients that they studied had evidence of the vaccine, specifically the spike protein, in their blood up to a month after they were vaccinated. 10%. So if we do a little math, there were approximately 11 million blood transfusions in the United States last year. If 70% of those people were vaccinated, ballpark, that's 7.7 million bags of blood from patients who were vaccinated. 10% of that with spike protein would be 770,000 bags of blood with spike protein, potentially, or 481 transfusions every hour around the clock containing spike protein. So everyone would agree spike protein is bad. Okay?
Poison?
It's bad. It's toxic. It's dangerous. If you need a blood transfusion, you certainly don't need spike protein on top of that. Whatever it is that has put you in a position where you need blood, you don't need spike protein as well.
Do they have to, excuse me, if somebody needed, a blood transfusion, is that something that the hospital would let them know that they're, this is vaccinated blood?
No.
So they're not even telling them?
No.
Okay.
And so this is how...
Isn't that... How can you not...
How can you not do that? You can simply do it if you're the FDA. Okay. Yeah, okay. So the Red Cross, I did not know this until I looked into it, but the Red Cross answers to the FDA. The FDA has regulatory authority over the blood supply. Oh, dear.
That's crazy.
Oh, dear.
Wild.
And so the Red Cross says, we do not perceive a need to distinguish between vaccinated and unvaccinated blood. Fine. Okay. A lot of mumbo jumbo. Then you go to the FDA, and the FDA says there's no scientific evidence that vaccinated blood is more dangerous than unvaccinated blood. And that's absolutely true. There is no scientific evidence because no one has looked. No one's looked.
Right.
There was no evidence at all. It's not that you can't trust the science. There is no science.
It's convenient.
And so they sort of, game out their narrative as if to say, we're not interested in screening the blood for spike protein. Okay? End of discussion. Now, 30, 40 years ago, they had no problem screening the blood for HIV.
Right.
They screen it for hepatitis B. Okay? They screen it for syphilis. Okay? But they're not going to screen it for spike protein.
So for those who may not know, could you tell us, what are some, adverse effects of having, a blood transfusion with spike proteins?
Well, we don't know. We have no idea. Okay, it's all hypothetical.
Hypothetical.
But it's
right.
like, okay, what are the potential hazards of getting on a motorcycle without a helmet and going 100 miles an hour?
Right.
You might be fine, but you might come to a very sudden stop, unexpected sudden stop, okay? In which case, you're dead.
Right.
We have no clue what the untoward outcomes might be in someone who is receiving a blood transfusion with spike protein in it. We know what happens to somebody who is making spike protein as a result of being vaccinated. That's not good, okay? Kills you. It can kill you, okay? Gives you myocarditis. I mean, the whole thing.
We're seeing such an uptick, in these deaths all of a sudden. You're seeing athletes, you're seeing, the entertainers just dropping on stage.
Yeah.
Not to mention just the sudden death syndrome. That's what they're called, sudden adult death syndrome.
Horrible.
Yeah, it's very concerning, and
So this is a question that can be answered. This is a question that can be answered. Okay, it's possible to answer the question: is there an unfavorable outcome related to a blood transfusion from someone who's been vaccinated? This is not mysterious. Like we'll never be able to know. No, you can do that. You can do a retrospective study. You can do a prospective study. You can come to the answer. Okay, reasonable, and you can present the data, and we can argue about the data. But we can't argue when there's no data, and we certainly can't argue if you refuse to look. So while the FDA is refusing to look and the Red Cross is hiding behind the skirts of the FDA, there are people out there who are smart enough to know that if they're going to need a blood transfusion, they're going to need it because they've got a big problem in their life, and they don't want to add to that problem in any way by having vaccinated blood. Okay? They want unvaccinated blood. Thank you very much. So Radius Health Exchange can help them acquire that.
That's amazing. It's much needed.
This registry is it's not an on-demand registry, right?
No, this is how it works. So we were very mindful that those who would sign up to be a member of the registry, the unvaccinated blood donor registry, needed to have their privacy secured. Okay. complete confidence. And so we ask for the minimal amount of information, and no one has access to that information except for really inside Radius Health Exchange. And only physicians and surgeons have access to that through a physician gatekeeper. So you can't go to Radius Health Exchange. Nobody can get in there and just say, oh, let's see if anybody's got A negative blood. Nope, forget it. You're not going to go there. So if you sign up, and we have hundreds of people that have signed up all around the world, that's on lockdown. If you are a patient who's looking for unvaccinated blood and you do not have a physician or surgeon who can help you navigate that, that's where the directory comes in. So you go to the directory and you can scan the directory and go, oh, yes, Dr. Ruddy can help me do that. Okay, so yep, I can do that. And then that member of the directory will also know where to go, how to set it up, who to contact, the paperwork, so on and so forth. And if that particular patient does not have a donor, most of the patients do. So far, everybody from their church, their family, their friends. But if they don't, then the gatekeeper inside Radius Health Exchange can say, oh, in that particular zip code, A negative blood, yes. And then we'll get in touch with that person and say, are you still willing? Yes or no.
And this is, I guess what I was trying to say was it's more procedural than it would be emergency use.
Oh, unfortunately.
Right? Yeah, I mean, there's, I just wanted to clarify for anyone kind of listening what it would be like,
sure.
You're not totally out of the woods if it is an emergency.
No, if you're a trauma victim,
yeah.
You're going to go to the trauma center if you're lucky. And you're going to take what they give you, and you're going to be happy.
Yeah.
If after that you needed additional, so if you were a burn patient, for instance, you might need a blood transfusion rather emergently as a burn victim. Mm-hmm. But if you needed additional blood transfusions, which patients with extensive burns frequently do, then you can begin to set that up.
Sure.
Now, there was a parent who had a child, Long Island, who needed a blood transfusion, and that particular hospital would not allow a direct blood donation. University of Virginia does not allow a direct blood donation. Forget it? No. So one of the things that I had to do when we were setting up the whole, problem solving for this was to find institutions in all of the major cities that would allow a direct blood donation. Okay, some do, some don't. Let's figure out who allows it and who doesn't. Right. So this is part of sort of a chat group, and I said, transfer the patient. I mean, it was, there's a baby, whatever, the baby was stable, it needed surgery, whatever, it was not going to die immediately. Right. You have 24 hours, stabilize the baby, go over here. That's what they did. Fine, see you, bye. We're going over here, and then they got the blood.
Oh, good.
No, I think it's a great program.
Yeah, absolutely.
One more question about that I don't think I've ever asked you. Is there any limitation? Is there a supply issue with people on dialysis that would want it?
Sure. I had a mother in Texas who adopted two sisters. I think they were Asian. And they were both born with a blood disorder, and they needed regular blood transfusions. She lived outside of Dallas, and for years, people from her church, she had a whole group of them all lined up. This was the team, the blood donor team, and they would donate the blood, and the children would receive the blood. All of a sudden, 6 weeks ago, the facility said, no more direct blood donation. She was like, well, what? Nope. Can't do it anymore. I'm like, what? Did you get a call from the FDA? What's going on here? So she called me. She was desperate. What am I going to do? I said, we'll figure it out. You have the donors. You just have to move that team somewhere else. She didn't even know that could be done or how to do that. So we did that. She's fine. The children are fine.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
So you can imagine, a mother of children panicked.
Yeah.
They need blood every 3 weeks or something,
Yeah.
And they're going to get it properly.
Oh, that's
great.
Yeah, that's amazing news.
That's great. What's crazy is I don't even know where to go from this because I'm so into the conversation. Like I'm not even thinking a step ahead.
Yeah.
Like I normally try to do. Like I'm just trying to just absorb everything that you're saying. Yeah.
It's the Ruddy effect.
Yeah.
It really is. That's like,
It is. 'Cause we're just like,
that was us during our first episode.
more input. Bring it. Wow. Well, I guess, I mean, it just from the last story, it seems like everything kind of stems. I feel like children are like are what everyone seems to be going after. And it's something that you could, I mean, just the last story again, like you said, like if you're a mother and you feel helpless trying to protect your children.
Yeah.
That seems to be in every facet of life anymore. It's like the kids are like a target.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's the saddest thing that's happening right now, to be honest.
Right.
And I know we had talked about, again, the movie that we're going to be watching, the coming attraction for Sound of Freedom, but even disregarding that, I always said, and I might have told you this, I'm pretty sure I have, I always felt that there was a civil war looming in America. I recently began to think that it's not even going to be a political war. I don't think it's going to be about politics. I don't think it's going to be about who's president or what kind of, laws or legislation he's kind of passed. I think it's going to be a war for the kids. And I think people are going to be fighting for these children anymore because it's disgusting, the stuff I've been seeing in the parades in New York City. I posted it all over Facebook. You had
naked men on bicycles.
Nice.
at a pride parade with children there.
I mean, it's disgusting on just many levels.
Yeah. But they're really pushing it here, and I feel like, they've always been pushing the envelope, but now it's getting to the point where you have naked men. And what were they chanting? We're here, we're queer, and we're coming for your children.
Yeah.
That was the chant.
Well, so here's the good news. There's not much farther you can go.
They're admitting it.
There's not much farther you can go. I mean, I think they hit the wall, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you can ignore that, if you can ridicule that, if that's the equivalent of John Belushi with pencils up his nose, right? In
But
Animal
people
House,
do ignore it.
Then
it's the craziest thing. People don't find that to be super disturbing.
No, they're taking their kid. They're like having their kids clap to this, like, "Hey, look!"
Yeah.
But okay, so I'm just going to try and look a little bit on the bright side. If you are attempting to astonish, and people are bored, you've lost.
Yeah.
Okay. If naked men riding down the street, no longer grabs your attention, and children will be bored too. I mean, really, there's only so much genitalia you can look at. Okay. I mean, trust me, I'm a surgeon. It's like, oh, nice, whatever. Okay. How much longer till lunch? Right? I'm hungry. Okay.
Yeah.
Really? So if what they want to do is, shock and awe, I'm like, we're bored.
Well,
We're bored. We're done.
I feel that it's all by design. You break down, morals. Well, they've been trying to break down, the family unit, and now they're pushing the envelope with sexuality, and it really is a fight for the children. If you look at all these other countries, it was always like the government was always telling them, these aren't your children, these are our children.
Yeah.
And therefore they would indoctrinate, pump out propaganda, and it would bring, a country down to its knees until it completely surrendered to communism. We saw that play over and over and over again in these other countries.
Yeah, tyrants and dictators.
But they hit a wall.
Yeah.
They hit a wall.
But they may have hit a wall. And I can't remember where I read the history of it. Well, the wall could be the downfall of a great society, I should say, because I remember reading it. I can't remember where it was, so I can't quote it. But to sum it up, it basically said when every great society failed, as they were failing, there was a blurring of gender.
Oh, sure.
Of sex.
Yeah.
They tried to, manipulate the children.
Yeah.
All through sex.
Yeah.
And I think this happened in the Roman Empire. That happened just before the Roman Empire fell.
I just learned about that.
Yeah. So every great society, and we're in that type of transition right now. So, and if Western society was the great society, maybe this is the downfall of what we know to be Western society, because I mean, nobody wants to fail, obviously, but at the same time, this is not a road you could travel. Like, I don't see how this could go any further.
So
like you said, the wall is there.
We were talking about something else earlier, a subject that we won't necessarily broach, but the principle, I think, is the same, which is if you can stop it from growing, it will die. If you can stop this from growing, this whole trans, sex, pride as the standard against which the other 85% of heterosexuals are compared, all of it, if you can just stop it from growing, it will die.
Right.
Okay. So it can be disconcerting, alarming. It can be depressing. You can figure, oh God, don't tell me. Naked men down the middle of the street, in my town, stop it from growing and it will die.
Yeah.
It will die.
Yeah,
I just don't know how to stop it. It's a problem.
I know.
Problem, I just can't imagine. Like, I don't have children, but I can't imagine a parent with young children right now hearing that and not being irate.
This is
We're here for your children.
yeah.
That's scary to me.
Yeah, but they are. Okay.
So not everyone's irate.
No,
is the problem.
It's true.
This is so. I know people who are, gay and are absolutely furious about this whole movement.
Yeah.
They want nothing to do with it. They're like, this is disgusting. I know gay couples with children that do not want any part of that because it's wild what we're seeing. I just saw today that there are 3 school districts, and I only briefly looked at it, so I don't have much detail, but are being sued because they want to. It's a school district. They want to warn parents or notify the parents if their child is claiming to be trans, and the state of New Jersey is saying, no, you can't do that.
No, not allowed.
What?
Yeah.
What? You're telling a school district that they are not allowed to alert the parents and notify them, hey, your child is saying that they may be trans. And to me, that's wild. This is the point that
That's
should be a
throughout New
red
Jersey
flag.
too, right? I mean, that's like
if that's not a red flag for people, I mean, I don't know what else to say. This is crazy.
Well, it is a red flag, and at least in my town and the surrounding towns, we have figured a strategy to deal with that very specific issue. We did. We ran the sex ed guidelines out of our curriculum, successfully did that.
Oh, that's amazing.
And we're putting a stop to that nonsense where the state can decide that the parents will not be notified if their child expresses some question about their sexual identity. There are ways around that. The state doesn't want you to even think that there are ways around it. The state wants to think that, wants you to believe that you're beaten. No.
Well, this is so now they're threatening to, hold back on funding if these school districts do not comply.
Yep.
Now, I've worked in education for a very long time, and I've basically worked with every age group. I can assure you that no preschooler or kindergartner that I've ever witnessed was questioning genitalia, was masturbating, that we needed to teach, about masturbation to kindergartners. It's crazy to see that this is being pushed in school districts as well as what's being pushed, the banned books. I see lawn signs everywhere. This town is against banning books. No, it's pornography. At the end of the day, it's pornography.
They're showing
If
8-year-olds
a
porn.
parent shows up to a Board of Ed meeting and with one of these books and reads it, and the Board of Ed members are like, you can't say that.
I love those videos.
I love those videos too. What do you mean? We got it from the school library.
Right. And
we can't talk about blowjobs and doing this and that.
That's how you push back. When the parents show up and start reading from these books. Okay?
I love it. Yeah, it's happening at more and more Board of Ed meetings, and I love seeing that.
And it actually becomes part of the record. I remember going to the board last year and saying, in addition to pulling these sex ed guidelines, which we got a petition overnight, hundreds of signatures, put it on the superintendent's desk, put a copy on the mayor's desk so that the mayor knew it was his problem too. And I said, if there are any penalties, I would like for you, superintendent, to specify what those penalties are. So Trenton was on notice. The state board was on notice. The superintendent was on notice. If you're thinking of applying penalties as a result of canning these sex ed guidelines, you're going to have to put that in writing so that we can come back and have that discussion. Basically, what you're dealing with are cowards. These are cowards who hold very lucrative positions, and they want nothing except to move paper from one side of the desk to the other and ride the fire engine down Main Street on the 4th of July. Okay, that's it. When you present to them a problem or a challenge, they're like, oh, no, we don't want a problem or a challenge.
Right.
Okay, so you say to them, I want to know what the penalties are. If Trenton wants to apply a penalty, I want to know who's going to be penalized. Oh, you're going to cut school lunches? You're going to cut school lunches for the poorest people in this town? Is that what you intend to do? No, they're not going to do that. You just call them on it.
Right.
And they run. They run.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Not far enough, but they do run.
We have
Not far enough. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But I think you're right. Getting stuff on record is
Absolutely.
really important. You're a big proponent
I
of that.
am. So whenever I attend a meeting and I ask questions, I already have the answer.
Tell
I
her
just
about the
wanna-
last meeting that you attended.
So the last meeting,
This is wild, by the way.
the last meeting that we attended.
Yeah, we attended.
So we had caught wind of our town taking on 700 migrants and
Illegal migrants.
Yeah.
Stress the word illegal.
What town?
How is it?
What town?
Rutherford.
Okay.
Rutherford. So we have 2 hotels in town, and they were going to fill up both hotels. One's a really nice hotel, the Renaissance Hotel.
Okay.
But
Wow.
we heard
Yeah, we went to both.
Yeah, we went to both.
Yeah.
So we heard, at first it was going to be for 4 months, potentially leading up to possibly 3 years. We were concerned about resources. Do we have who's going to be funding this?
Right.
How are we going to be able to provide? Our schools are at max. So these were some questions that I had at the mayor and council meeting. I was very surprised that they addressed it, because our meetings are set up where when they open up the floor, you can come up with your statements and questions. It's not a back and forth.
Right.
Then, when you sit down and that portion of the meeting's closed, they'll respond if they want. Usually I never get a response because I usually ask questions.
You were very
about things
careful.
that I've Oprah'd, so I already know the answer. I just want it on public record.
You were very careful in what you asked in the meeting. So it had nothing to do with migrants per se.
Yeah.
We didn't ask about migrants, or you didn't ask about migrants.
Right.
What she asked was,
I was
are you
very
guys having
specific.
secret meetings
yes,
about
yes.
migrants? And the answer is,
good.
which we knew already, was yes. You guys are having multiple meetings every night about this migrant situation that's going to be coming, but nobody knows about it in town.
Yeah.
Right. So it was very concerning, because we knew people that were complaining about it, weren't happy about it, and the fact that you're meeting secretly behind closed doors, so that if it does happen, you can say, well, we didn't know about it. Or if it doesn't happen, you don't care about these meetings. But it's what is it? Plausible deniability, I think, is what it would be called.
Deniability, yeah.
It kind of erupted this meeting.
Interrupted. Yeah, the meeting interrupted. Yeah, it was
erupted.
crazy. One council member was like, she was like, well, can we just let the attorneys answer that?
That's all she wanted, was to
She
have
wanted the attorneys
attorney
to
to answer. And then it just, it really just,
And then
Good.
the mayor
the
dove in.
Good.
The
He
mayor
dove
dove in,
in,
and he
not
was like, "We
happy
can't
about
do
it.
it. We can't actually do it because we don't have the resources to do anything like that."
Good.
And in the back of my head, I'm like, "Yeah, but." So you're trying to say that it's not happening, but at the same time, you're not saying, well, you're not saying so much that you're having the meetings. Like, it still could happen. You know what I mean? Let people. My big argument is, when you want something done, if you don't want it to happen, why would you keep it a secret from majority of the people that don't want it to happen as well? Like, we went to the hotels. I asked the manager there. I'm like, what's going on with these migrants coming in?
Yeah.
And they were like, I don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? I'll stand in the driveway with a sign. You know what I mean? I'll let other people coming in know that, like, you might not be able to stay here next month. Because it's going to be taken up. You're not going to be able to stay here. I don't mind. Like if you travel for business every couple of months and you're in the area, you better find a different hotel.
Good
but
for
that's
you.
another thing. They want to fill all of South Bergen County.
Oh yeah, it wasn't just Rutherford.
It wasn't just Rutherford. It was
four towns
East
involved?
Rutherford, Carlstadt, and
Yeah, 4
Lyndhurst that
towns
were
involved.
in discussions now
Yeah.
about housing migrants, and there a couple of towns are trying to fight it.
Yeah.
with
Guess what the price
ordinances.
tag was?
Oh,
Guess how much it would cost for them to be
I can't
here?
imagine.
Yeah.
Like a college tuition.
Oh,
Okay, like you could go to the University of Pennsylvania Law School, right?
$290 million.
Yeah.
That was the math on it.
Yeah, right.
So we had
If it was 3
already
years.
heard that the cost per night
Yeah.
that the hotels would be getting would be between $800 to $1,000. This figure
night
was
per room.
Per night per room, and this was actually confirmed by an elected official after the meeting.
And
that
who owns the hotels?
I actually looked into that.
Who owns the hotels? And what is the relationship with the people who are sending the migrants in?
I want to say.
Yeah,
I
so-
want to say.
the state controls the hotels,
lying.
and didn't you say Marriott because they were
Marriott
also-
Bonvoy owns a
Marriott.
lot, which I'm sure you
They
know. Maybe this is
also-
why you're laughing.
They
They're the
also
ones.
own the hotels that were being used in New York as well.
Marriott.
Am I
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, well,
in saying that?
Marriott, they host the WEF in Davos every year.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Okay, so it's
They
all,
would stay at a Marriott.
This episode should be keep following the money.
Yes, keep following.
That's all it is.
right.
It's all it is money.
Yeah. So the blueprint is that we're talking organized crime here.
100%.
Absolutely, it's
Yeah,
money
Organized
laundering.
crime. So you bring these poor migrants, these poor people. I mean, really, have pity on them. But they're just
They're pawns.
on the
Pawns.
chessboard. Okay, so they come in at $800 a night for the guy who owns the Marriott, who has it part of the whole syndicate for shipping them up from
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
Mexico to begin with. I mean, really, people.
I mean, that's I can almost
Okay. Yeah.
see where the hotel owner is coming from. In wait, you're going to give me how much money to do this?
No. That's part of the crime. It's part of the syndicate.
I'm sure they are part
Yeah,
of it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
at the same time,
Yeah.
you can't. Well, I mean, we could assume it, and we could probably assume it to be true.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't true, you could almost understand. Like everyone has a price tag to do something terrible. I'm almost positive.
Oh no, this is all being played.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But the other thing about these migrants that we were talking about, which I thought was one, this is the thing that really blew my mind the most, was the fact that they're completely unvetted people. And I said, look, the mayor basically said, if higher up the chain comes down and like we have to do it, we're fighting it. Okay, great. Could you at least find out who they are? If it has to happen, they have to go. Could we at least find out if they're pedophiles, cartel members, gang members,
Chinese.
murderers? Yeah, anything.
We spoke about that just in our last episode. I've been to the border, and you have everybody coming in unchecked through our open southern border. Everybody from terrorists overseas, Chinese nationals who are buying up land and trying to set up surveillance by military bases. It really is. It's wild. And like Mike said, everybody's unvetted. You also have we're aiding and abetting in human trafficking, because what I learned down at the border is that nobody travels for free. Nobody travels for free.
Right.
They will shoot you dead, if you do not, have a bracelet, which we saw littering the entire desert. But yeah, it's
crazy.
So one of the questions, when I spoke about this with people, was that, they're not going to work. They're going to live for free. I said, no. I can guarantee you that a majority of these people are going to work, because there's a huge, cost that a debt that they're going to have to pay off to the cartel members, for coming over here. A lot of people cannot afford to pay to cross over. So the cartels will tell them, sure, you can travel for free now when you get over there. If you don't have a job, we can set you up with something. If they set you up with something, then it's like, bonded labor. It's really, it's trafficking.
It'd be interesting when the banks close, how they're going to pay all these bills.
And that was another thing that we brought up. That there
HSBC
was,
just came out and said that what they say? I forgot what they said, their exact quote, but they're saying that we're going to be in a recession in the United States within a year.
Well, there's a recession, but if the banks were to fail, and they're starting to collapse, right? All these cartels are dealing with they're not dealing with Bitcoin. Okay? They don't have the CBDC. They're not special drawing rights out of the, International Monetary Fund. I mean, these are people that are being bussed in, okay, and then bussed out, right? How are they going to pay those debts? If the banks are collapsing, what kind of chaos do you think is going to break out down at the border when no one has the money to pay the bills, the bribes? What do you think is going to happen?
I haven't even thought about the whole thing.
Think about that. The banks closed, the ATMs closed. Okay, yeah.
Follow the money.
Like, how much cash do you have in your pocket to pay this guy off and that guy off and this guy who owes big money to this guy? Now you got the Tony Sopranos dealing with that, right?
Right.
Nobody has any money.
Yeah, it's not going to be pretty.
Nope, not going to be pretty.
It's not going to be pretty.
Yeah.
And
People are still so unaware that this is taking place, and people have been ringing the alarm on this for at least a year. It's it's quite some time, but no, you don't hear anybody really talking about it.
Think about it, though.
no.
Think about it. There's a planned demolition of what they call, sort of the local regional banks. This is a scam to consolidate money, okay, and the large money holders into a few huge banks, JP Morgan, Bank of America, so on and so forth. But nevertheless, they're running out of steam because we're a little bit off track, but it actually applies. They're running out of steam because the Chinese are really not interested in this Western banking system any longer. The Saudis are clearly not interested in the Western banking system. They turned their back on Credit Suisse.
So many nations.
Right? Turned their back on Credit Suisse. The Russians aren't interested. I mean, they're not talking to anybody. Nobody's talking to the Russians. Zelensky in Ukraine is like, I need more money.
We
bad,
just
Jack, there's no more
we accidentally sent them another $60 billion.
Yeah,
by
fat
accident.
fingers. We fat fingered him.
But where's he going to
6
spend
billion.
it? Where is he going to spend it? So I'm saying it.
It'll
as
be
a-
Well, he's not
Back
spending it.
to-
I mean, it's
It's
obviously
getting
coming right back
yeah.
here.
Yeah, it's getting
Yeah.
funneled
Yeah, it's
back
not-
It's
here.
starting to collapse. It's starting to collapse
Yeah.
everywhere. And I'm like, at the end of the day, when this thing goes into a full flat spin, right? When it goes into a full flat spin, and you're not going to be able to nose up and get out of trouble, okay? You're just going to have a whole lot of people who owe a whole bunch of other people a whole lot of money that doesn't exist,
Yep.
okay? And down there in the streets with the guys in the Renaissance Hotel, what do you think that's going to look like? That's going to look like a bunch of people stacked, 10 stories who are hungry
Yep.
and nobody can feed them.
Yep.
So
Yep.
last weekend I went to the Blexit event, Candace Owens' organization. They had to move. So originally it was supposed to be in Williamsburg. Antifa caught wind and somehow got the vendor to, kick us out.
They are the worst.
Yeah, they were like, we're not hosting hate here. And the only people that are threatening hate and violence is Antifa. But okay, so they scrambled. They found a new venue. It was, I forgot what area. I can't remember what area it was in, but it was definitely a rundown area, and they were using, I guess, like the area hotels. So I parked my car. First of all, every car there was either missing the tires, the bumpers were, it was just wild. 2 cars looked like they were torched. I was like,
Where was this?
Yeah.
Camden?
Garden City. No. It'll come back to me. I can't remember.
How sad.
So it was in a really rundown area. But so there was a couple hotels by this venue, and they were, I guess the hotels were being used for housing for migrants, because you would just see families come out, bring the bikes, let their kids ride the bikes, in front, and then they'd go back in. We saw a lot of migrants over there.
Speaking of children, though, one of the words that we had gotten was that those 700 migrants that were coming to our area were no children, no women.
See, I heard
No
differently.
women, just men.
Just men.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. You didn't hear that. I heard that from multiple people, multiple sources. Actually, that was what was supposed to be happening in Rockland County and Orange County, but they put a stop to it. But that's still actually, I think, in litigation or whatever. But it's they did put a stop to it for the time being. But that was only men that were being sent there.
So the question that I have is interesting. How many of them have guns?
You never know.
They're going to need guns.
Well, if they're in a
They're gonna
gun-free
need guns.
zone, then they have a really good shot of getting it.
Okay, those poor people are going to need guns because the rest of us have guns, right? So there are like 460 million guns in the United States. The most popular gun in the United States is an assault rifle. Did you know that? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
That's the most popular gun in America is an
it?
assault rifle. Yes. I don't know what percentage. It's a high percentage. I have to get my cousin Danny on the phone. Danny's an expert on all this. But yeah, so 460 million gun. You have 300.
More than shotgun? Really? I can't imagine that.
Yeah. Assault rifle. Mm-hmm. Yep, they fly off the shelves. I mean, yeah. And so we've been very
I guess
patient.
in the past couple of years. Yeah.
We've been very patient. We, the United States of America, the citizens, law-abiding, maybe gun-toting, but law-abiding citizens of the United States have been very patient, okay?
I agree.
But when things go full-on wild, we have guns.
Yeah.
These poor migrants don't have guns. They're going to start doing funny things that are probably not, or will be disruptive to save themselves, okay? It's going to be very ugly.
Yeah, I think it's going to get very ugly. I agree.
Yeah.
And it's actually, it's a really good point that you bring about the guns, because I brought this up to a friend of mine, because we always talk, I'm always concerned with the fact that the military has been largely vaccinated, right? Mm-hmm. But on the other side of that,
Yeah.
I say, well, I'm pretty sure we have, like, what is it, 20 million retired military that aren't vaccinated?
We got militia, and we got everybody in the South.
But I'm saying, like, you actually have, like, your retired military, actually people with military
Right.
experience.
Yeah.
You have like 20 million that
And they
have
all have
guns,
guns.
that aren't vaccinated. So we have a pretty large army
Oh, yeah.
outside of
Oh, yeah.
the actual military that's,
Oh, yeah.
I think, compromised to a degree.
Yeah. Maybe not so much around here, but if you go down south and you go out west and so on and so forth, I mean, they're armed. They're armed and ready to go. They've been holding back.
Well, New Jersey, you're allowed to conceal carry now,
Yeah.
which is
But good
crazy.
luck getting that.
I know. But I mean, everyone filled out an application right away. I mean, it was like they got bombarded
I
with
have to
applications.
do mine.
Yeah. I didn't do one. I didn't do one yet.
But in the South, you don't need that. You don't need to register. You don't need to get a permit to carry. I mean, really. Okay.
It's a money grab as well. I mean, if they're going to try to prevent it, if you're going to do it, they might as well try to grab money from
I
you.
think, yeah.
I mean, same thing with cars. You don't have to get your car inspected down south.
There's
You don't?
There's still
Not for the most part. I know Florida, I don't think.
there's still a lot of factors in the equation that haven't been fully appreciated and accounted for. I know they're sending in migrants and they're coming through the border and so on and so forth. But I talked to a surgeon in Texas about 2 weeks ago. And he is around Tyler, Texas. So about mid, Texas. And I said, how's the migrant situation where you are? Oh, we don't have any problem there.
Armed to the gills.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm thinking, I could be wrong, but I'm thinking that they're coming in, they're pouring across the border, making headlines for good reason, okay? And then they're getting,
Yes, that's exactly what they're doing.
it's like,
They-
London Airport.
You know this for sure.
It's like London Airport. Off they go.
Off
They don't go into
immediately.
Texas because I'm like, everybody in Texas has got 2 guns.
Yeah.
Okay. And they all have
Immediately, they are
trucks.
out.
Okay. They've got armored vehicles.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not coming into Tyler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You know that for a fact.
Yeah.
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 Send him to New Jersey. Okay.
New York,
Or New York.
Florida,
Yeah.
Chicago. Yeah, all up and down the East
Send them where they want to use
And then
them
we'll
for
send him
votes,
to
too.
Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
The
Isn't
whole
it
thing is crazy.
crazy how Martha's Vineyard shipped them right out within 24 hours?
Yeah.
No one saw the hypocrisy in that in this very privileged area.
Well, there's a guy going around at these events or refugee events or whatever that they hold for these people, and they're like, the guy's asking me, he's like, look, here's a paper you could sign to host a refugee. Would you do it? And they're like, no.
Yeah. Right.
Like, of course you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
It's Mindy, not in my backyard.
Everybody had an excuse. Oh, I can't. I have rent. Oh no. I wish I could, but I just don't have the space. Or isn't that
It's a brilliant video. Yeah. It's really small, my apartment.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Whatever. Or I don't know who they are. Okay, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. But I don't know them. Exactly. None of us do. But
about
you
that?
want it.
How about that?
I kind of want to stay on the same on the topic of children again, and I think it's a good time. We'll watch if it's okay with you. We'll watch that.
Yeah, sure.
We'll watch that coming attraction.
Okay.
You can see it again as well, and then we can talk about it.
Gave me such
somewhat.
goosebumps.
Yeah, it's really something. And by the way, Angel Studios. If you're not a member of Angel Studios, I suggest getting on it. It's really a great site and studio.
When is the release?
July 4th.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah, so
okay.
I don't know if it's a limited time release. Like I'm going to see it on the 7th.
Okay.
So I think it's for that week that it's being released.
Okay.
So try to stock up. I think their goal is 2 million tickets to represent the 2 million children that get trafficked every year.
Okay.
So I just don't know if I'm going to be able to hear this very well. Let's see. If it's too loud, let me know.
How many pedophiles you got? 288. How many kids you found? It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's going to pass the drug trade. Because you can sell a bag of cocaine one time to a child 5 to 10 times a day. God's children are not for sale.
It's based on a true story.
How long have you been doing this? 12 years now. How many pedophiles you got? 288. How many kids you found?
Timoteo, por rescatar niños, ¿verdad? ¿Puedes ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana?
Te lo prometo.
For Homeland Security, you know we can't go off rescuing Honduran kids in Colombia.
Which means she'll disappear for good. Imagine walking into a room right now, seeing an empty bed. What we do?
You quit your job and you go and rescue those kids.
So at this moment, she could be a block down the road, or she could be in Moscow, Bangkok, LA. She's a major operator.
It's all rebel territory. No one goes in. Not the army, not the police, not us.
What if this was your daughter?
There's no Marine unit coming.
You're on your own. This job tears you to pieces. And this is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
When God tells you what to do, you cannot hesitate.
Wow. How many did
An
they
estimated 2 million children are trafficked every year, and we can help them. Sound of Freedom is based on a true story about real-life heroes saving kids from the dark world of child trafficking. We know this is heartbreaking and it hurts to look at, but the first step in helping these children is hearing their story. Not enough people know this problem exists, and even fewer people are willing to do anything about it. Our goal is to inspire 2 million people to attend the film's opening weekend, to represent the 2 million trafficked children around the world. To spread the word, Angel Studios set up a Pay It Forward program where you can pay for someone else's ticket who might not otherwise see it. If the ticket price is stopping you from attending, claim your free ticket at angel.com/freedom. Sound of Freedom opens the week of July 4th. Every parent, every adult, and every teenager in America should be there to see it. If millions of us come together today to see this film, we could propel the movement to help save millions of children around the world. And you can send the message that God's children are no longer for sale.
I can't wait. Personally.
really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I feel like I'm going to be crying.
That's
I feel like
fantastic.
I'm on the verge of tears now. Seriously, I've been looking into child trafficking for a while, and I mean, it's mind blowing what has been taking place for so long. And so when it comes to, a lot of things being covered up, even by the government. I remind people of what is it, the Franklin scandal? Are you familiar with that?
No.
So Boys Town, they were, that was the whole thing in the 80s where the politicians were actually, politicians were involved, DC was involved, FBI, CIA, local law enforcement, and it was a whole child sex traffic ring where they were actually taking children from this group home, putting them on private jets, bringing them to DC to these sex parties. And supposedly there were snuff films that were made. They had hired a photographer who documented all these sex parties. And when the whole thing was exposed, a lot of the victims died mysteriously, as well as the people that were looking to investigate, such as the one agent who was on a plane to try to get footage that somebody had taken of, these children being raped. The plane mysteriously blew up while he was in it, as well. And all the pictures and footage that he had retrieved disappeared. So very interesting. And it was a very well documented case. So when people are like, oh, that's just another conspiracy, look it up. It was very well documented. And it actually, it made front page of every single newspaper, the headline that there were 2 children, boy escorts, young male escorts that were found in the White House 4th of July at midnight getting a private tour. And it made headlines. It's crazy. And I'm like, you can look this up. It's not, it's a very disgusting, dark, secret, but this is something that's taking place. And, I'm glad that it's getting more exposure. I hope it wakes people up, and realize like, this is not just something, that people are saying. This is something that's actually taking place. I mean, human trafficking is $150 billion a year industry. Think of how many, of the individuals involved are women and children involved in sex trafficking.
Yeah. I think it's probably more than that now.
I think so too.
But it's easy to consider something conspiracy theory when you don't want to believe it.
Right.
So
wasn't that a whole CIA thing too?
Well, well, this conspiracy theory was coined by the CIA in the death of Kennedy, I think. But why I consider
involvement.
James,
now they admitted it.
Why I consider James Caviezel an absolute hero is because he's supposedly within this. We didn't see in the coming attractions, but in the movie, from what I've read, he exposes the CIA as leading this child trafficking cartel.
Right.
So, I really think he put his life in his hands making this film.
I'm surprised he's still alive.
I mean, it's so coincidental for him to die at this point.
Well, come on.
It would be pointless to kill him. It would just be punitive.
Yeah. I don't even see how it
that doesn't stop the Clintons, does it?
No.
But so speaking of child trafficking, remember, the whole earthquake in Haiti? Yeah. And so the Clintons were very involved. And then Laura Silsby? She was caught trying to smuggle 33 Haitian children out of the country for the Clintons organization, and Hillary Clinton had to go down there, get her out. Yeah. And the whole thing just blew over and nobody spoke about it. She was caught trying to smuggle 33 children. They weren't even orphans. They had parents. And a lot of people that were in Haiti that were actually helping these victims of this natural disaster, who started to see what was going on, called them out.
Haitians hate the Clintons.
Oh, they absolutely do. And a lot of them, doctors, they were found suicided, which is interesting. Anybody that, tried to, blow the whistle on them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
we've been very patient for too long.
I agree.
We have, absolutely.
I'm hoping this movie really lights the fire under some people's asses because it's just disgusting. It kind of goes what we had mentioned before, and one of the main takeaways or largest byproducts of child trafficking is what I don't know if they're going to mention it in the movie, but I have heard Caviezel talk about it, is adrenochrome. And I don't think he was in he didn't know what it was for a long time, and then he did his research. I know I've done my research on it. I'm sure you've done your research on it. And we kind of, maybe you learned a little bit from us about it. Finally, we taught you something. I know. It feels good.
I know, right?
Yeah, something I don't know. So tell me. So debrief me.
What it is that I know is it is adrenaline. Adrenalized blood that
is extracted during
heightened fear of children. So they basically scare them or rape them or whatever they do, and then and then as that's happening, that's when they extract the blood.
And so, what would be the point of having that blood?
It's supposed to keep you young. It's supposed to give you a high. You're supposed. They say that it's 10 times more potent than heroin.
Yeah. So you can get it on the black market. There was a huge.
So they distill
on the dark web. This was something that
I think it's powderized. I don't think it's liquid. I don't think it's
so
liquid
they extract it and turn it into a crystal.
I don't think it's liquid. I think again, this could be totally wrong, but I mean, from what I remember reading, and again, it could be wrong, but it's not just one form.
No, it's
that
not
you could take it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could just drink the blood. You know what I mean? Like maybe I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that it's powderized. As well.
Yeah, right.
So
it's a high. It creates a high.
It creates a high, but it's also supposed to be really keep you young. It's almost like the fountain of youth, they say.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They. I don't know who they is, but either way, no matter what it does, it's a real thing. You know, so for a while it was like taboo that it was like, it's not even, you know.
And so
it's
where
fake,
are people accessing it? Like, so there must be. I think if we is that part of the regular drug cartel, or is this another whole syndicate, another family running the show?
So, like I said, there was a huge market for it on the dark web, and people were. I mean, you can basically get anything on the dark web. You can.
Yeah, the dark web is massive.
You can watch snuff films. You can watch live footage of children getting, sexually assaulted.
You can get that on the regular web, but the dark web is supposed to keep it somewhat anonymous. But as far maybe Epstein was a peddler.
Sure.
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't had access to it. But I can only imagine where, if you're affiliated with it, if you're a trafficker, if you're running these rape houses, I'm sure you're getting it. I mean, what was it?
So here's the thing. The question that I would have is, why not just synthesize it? And this gets, okay, so you would explore the whole spectrum of Satan.
Well, it's not just a high, you got to imagine. It's not just for the high. They're perverts as well.
Exactly right. That's my point. Because if you can identify adrenochrome, and then you can crystallize it, and then you can dispense it in various forms, right? So you can synthesize it. You could throw the code for that into bacteria, and the bacteria could make it like they make petroleum, and they make, protein foods, whatever. So you could synthesize it. It'd be pretty straightforward to synthesize it. Particularly because this is not like a completely new molecule. And we know what adrenaline is. We're very familiar with, steroid hormones and things like that. So there must be some secondary gain to scaring the hell out of these children for the purpose of getting adrenochrome. Right. The secondary gain is to scare the hell out of the children. It's not to get the adrenochrome. Necessarily.
Well, that's an added benefit for them.
Spit that out.
It's a byproduct of their perversion.
Exactly.
And look at what's his name. I mean, I try to correlate and kind of connect every dot that I come across. And Podesta's painting of those kids against the wall, I'm sure that they were extracted.
Have you ever really looked into all those artists? So he collects all this artwork, and I've looked into a lot of those artists, and it's very triggering. It really is, because you can't look at these images and not feel a certain type of way.
Can you pull up the internet? Yeah. Okay, pull up Vermeer, girl with a pearl earring.
Okay.
Pull that up.
What is it that you want?
Vermeer, girl with a pearl earring.
With pearl earring?
Girl with pearl earring.
And speaking of Epstein, notice how nobody from the famous client list has been arrested or a house has been raided or the list being exposed.
I'm shocked.
You want to see the painting, right? Here's an image.
Put this on the airplane mode. I think this is me.
Yeah, it's you.
Come on.
So, and you can enlarge it. So, Vermeer has a lot of his paintings are of clearly lascivious men sort of honing in on women. There are a lot of group pictures like that where you can see it's very, very clear. I mean, he's not even trying to hide it. They're innocent women. But, and this is a very, very famous, probably his most famous painting. There was a movie made.
Yes, I
right?
remember that.
Did you see the movie?
No,
You should watch it again. It's actually pretty interesting.
It was
it had
called,
Scarlett Johansson was in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you look at this picture closely, this is a young girl, right? She's young. She's just not much past puberty, right? We can sort of tell by her facial, her bone structure. She's wearing a pearl earring that obviously is nothing that she earned. And based on the rest of her dress, this is not something that runs in the family.
Right.
That pearl earring is precious at that time. Okay. Way beyond her means. So she's sporting the pearl earring. And in the movie, they sort of explain how she got the pearl earring. But in any case, who knows whether that's true or not. But that pearl earring does not belong to her, doesn't belong to her family. It's something that she's earned. She looks maybe 13.
Yeah.
Right? About 13 years old. Now, what kind of expression? She's looking at the artist. What kind of an expression is that?
I don't want to say
confused.
fearful.
Yeah.
She's
I couldn't
confused.
really
Like, what's
put
going
the
on over
finger
there?
on it right.
She's a little bewildered.
Right.
She's a little confused. She's not sure.
She's unsure. Yes.
She's not sure. Right?
Like, what's coming? What's about to happen?
What is going on here? It's a pretty stark expression on her face. It's not like, she doesn't look startled. She doesn't look afraid. She's just confused. That's the look of a child before they're raped. How about that? That's the child, one of the 33 children, who was enticed to get on the plane from Haiti. That's the look. She's very beautiful, and she's well adorned because Vermeer wants her to be well adorned. It's interesting. You go back hundreds of years, and there it is. There it is. That's a young girl that's getting ready to be taken advantage of.
Wow.
She's not looking at a woman. Okay? She's not looking at an older woman. She's not looking at a parent. She's not looking at a sister. She's looking at a man. Right?
Yep.
Clear she's absolutely looking at a man who has her dressed up.
Interesting.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I've never
Vermeer.
actually looked at
Look
this.
at that expression.
Yeah. This painting and really, dissected it like that.
So-
but you're absolutely right.
Spot on, right? So I saw the movie. I was going through my library, looking for movies. It's the summertime, whatever, and I had not seen this one. So I bought this movie. I thought it was very, very interesting. It was very captivating narrative. Very, very captivating. And
But it's called The Girl with the Pearl Earring?
that's the title of it.
Okay.
The Girl with the Pearl Earring. And so I was like, I want to know more about Vermeer. I had been to an exhibit of Vermeer, in Washington, D.C., this and the other. So I'm at the library again yesterday, and I check out a book, and this is on the cover, okay? So it's a big coffee table book. And all of a sudden I was like, it clicked. I'm like, what kind of an expression is that on a girl this age? What is that all about? Mm-hmm. That's the age-old story.
It is
of
the
a
age-old
predator,
story.
of predatory men taking advantage of young girls.
And boys.
Right. And now it's just
Children
turned
in general.
into a gigantic industry. That's all.
Yes.
It's just turned into a huge industry whose purpose is to shred the fabric of society.
You know, it's a really good movie. I think. It's heartbreaking at the end. Have you ever seen the movie Water? It takes place in India, and there's a little girl that is put into this. I guess it's a home for widows or whatever, but her parents had passed away, and they put her into this, women's home. And it's a very sad story, but it was a very well made movie, and I had to watch it for one of my college courses. So it was a women's studies, course, and we had to watch it. And that movie is one that always comes to mind. I've been meaning to rewatch it. I would look into
Water?
it. Water.
Yeah.
All right. So I got 2 movies I got to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we.
And the Kite Runner, right? The same sort of thing.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, that's
3 movies I got to watch.
Oh no, that book is good, but the movies, yeah,
I'll have to watch that.
Oh yeah, you've got to. Oh yes, indeed. So this is age-old stuff. It's just been like our healthcare system. It's been securitized and run into a big syndicate, and this is what we have.
Yeah, it's been silenced for sure.
Yeah, but the movie, Sound of Freedom. Yeah, okay, that's a tipping point.
Yeah,
that's a tipping point.
You think so?
I can't wait to see it. Well, you got to see. We got to wait and see. You got to wait and see. I mean, I think it is. I mean, just from the coming attractions, there's a scene that they let out.
Yeah.
I should see if I could find it. It's a little bit. It's about. I guess it's around the same length, but it's the guy that was in that scene with the hat on.
Yeah.
That what was the line? I think he said when God what did he say? When God tells you what to do, you don't question it. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
He goes further into that, and I mean, I can't wait till it comes out. You're just like, it's disgusting to the point. And I've said this to people, like, because I have a couple of friends that are in the NYPD, and I always ask them about, like, because I love the show SVU, Law and Order SVU. I think it's one of the greatest shows out there, to be honest, especially uncovering and unmasking that kind of lifestyle or that kind of evil. And everyone will tell you that everything that you see on that show doesn't hold a candle to what actually happens in real life.
I know, heard that.
Which is one of the saddest things that you can hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff that you got to stop. And that's why I think there's going to be a civil war. And that's why I think it's maybe a world war, but it's going to be over children and nothing political, I don't think. Ultimately. I really do. I actually firmly believe that. It used to be politics for me. Like, I used to think that was going to be the tipping point. Like, I could see people trying to go, if you didn't go over war over Donald Trump at this point, you're probably not going to hit a civil war with that.
Yeah, right.
But you start going after someone's kids, it doesn't matter what political
let's
party
just
you're
like
at.
throw in the clutch and put it in 5th gear and go right to Marburg because
I was going to come back to that, as a matter of fact, but let's do it.
Because when you're talking about civil war, and I agree, it certainly gives the impression, that we are headed for a climax. Like, we're like in the final act of a blockbuster movie. Okay. And we're just waiting for everything to explode and so on and so forth.
We hope we're at the final act, as a matter of fact. I hope we're not at the apex.
Okay, but I think we're going to win. And I tell you why. There's a reasonable expectation that the people who brought us COVID and brought all the rest of us, everything that we've discussed, need to have some kind of final terminal event, because there's still 9 billion people on the planet. They can't control us. They can't fund us. They can't feed us. They can't move us around. Okay. There are just too many of us. There are plenty of them. They think that there are plenty of them. Okay. But there are way too many of us. They have to get rid of us.
Yeah.
Okay. They weren't able to kill enough of us with COVID. They weren't able to kill enough of us with the vaccine, as it turns out, although they did a pretty good job. But they've got to get rid of us, which is why Tedros says, be prepared, it's going to be the end of the world. And they've got the WHO treaty all lined up, and they got the NATO troops, and they're, suspended everyone's constitution. Yeah, and Tedros is coming into the rescue. Mm-hmm. It would seem the best estimate about what would happen is Marburg. So Marburg is first cousin of Ebola. Remember the Ebola outbreak in West Africa in
Yes.
2011, 12, whatever. So when Ebola comes to town, that's it. You're done. Nobody goes anywhere. Nobody does anything. It's just Ebola. It's not like social distancing and shut down the little diner, but leave Walmart. Oh, no. Everything comes to a complete stop when
That
it's
was
Ebola.
Outbreak, right? The movie Outbreak? Or was that
No,
Ebola?
No, that wasn't Ebola.
What was that?
No, that was some trumped up.
Okay.
Yeah, Andromeda strain, whatever.
Okay.
No. So Ebola is a hemorrhagic fever. Hemorrhagic fevers are not new.
Yeah, what is that exactly?
So yellow fever, you remember hearing about yellow fever.
Yeah, I remember hearing
Big
about it, yeah.
yellow fever. What was yellow fever? Yellow fever was a hemorrhagic fever. Yellow fever was a hemorrhagic fever. It was spread by mosquitoes, but nobody knew that at the time. There were big outbreaks. Dr. Benjamin Rush, that signed the Declaration of Independence and lived in Philadelphia and helped to, create the medical schools there and so on and so forth. So he oversaw huge outbreak of yellow fever. Happens in the summertime in crowded cities, very humid. And the patients develop a high fever and typically a headache, and they just feel awful. That's it. High fever, headache, and just like, I'm going to bed. As if you had the flu. And they get sicker, muscle aches. This goes on for about 3 days. And then they start vomiting blood.
That's the hemorrhagic, right? That's
And then they start having bloody diarrhea. And they lose their sense of consciousness, as it were. They're delirious. And then they turn yellow because the contagion, the yellow fever, attacks their liver, so they become jaundiced. That's hemorrhagic fever. It scares you to death when you see that.
How did they find out that this was passed on through mosquitoes?
Not till later.
Wait, scares you to death as a physician or as
a person, as a
human being? When it happens, it's just okay.
It's just like
everyone's scared.
Everybody is scared.
How is it transmitted?
Well, it's transmitted through mosquito bites, but they didn't really know that. They thought it was the bad air.
So it's not contagious from person to person.
Not exactly. I mean, it could possibly be, but mostly.
Gotcha.
Yellow fever was spread in the summertime by mosquitoes.
Gotcha.
And it looked like everybody was getting bit by the mosquito, so it looked like one person was giving it to another, but nobody really knew.
Right.
It's just that all hell broke loose, and you didn't know who was going to be sick and who would die. At that point, the mortality rate for yellow fever was about 30%. So some people had a relatively mild case of it, just like SARS and influenza. And then those people who became jaundiced, once you became yellow, you were done. You were going to die. Once you started vomiting blood, you were going to die. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So that was our first well-known hemorrhagic fever. Then the 1970s, a hemorrhagic fever broke out in Africa, and it was basically like that. Sudden high fever, headache, kind of crazy, feel sick. And then a couple days later, now you're vomiting blood, and now you've got bloody diarrhea. Imagine how terrifying that is.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you start bleeding under your skin, and then you start bleeding from your eyes. Now, Ebola can be spread in blood.
Start bleeding from your eyes?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And your mouth and your nose. A friend of mine had just been named the president of Médecins Sans Frontières, Joanne Liu, when I was at McGill University during my International Masters for Health Leadership, and she was in Africa for the Ebola outbreak. And she was begging the WHO to please come down here. It's a problem. And they were like, no, it's really not a problem. She's like, they're dying. She tells this horrifying story. She was all suited up, looked like a moonshot, blue moonshot. And she goes into the tent, and there's a little black boy, who's dying. And he says to her, I'm bleeding. Like, can you do something? And all she could say was, I know. bleeding. That's all he could say. Okay, that's Ebola. Marburg is its first cousin. The mortality rate, the outer limit of the mortality rate for Marburg, remember yellow fever, okay, which was awful, 30% mortality rate. The outer limit for Marburg mortality rate is 90%.
Oh, you get that.
Wait, how is the Ebola? How is that passed?
Person to person.
Person to person.
Historically, person to person. But we're going to leave a big question mark there because when I heard that Marburg had been wargamed for a bioterrorist attack, right? You always have to ask who's doing the wargaming and who's going to do the release.
This is in the 70s, you said?
No, this is recently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Ebola and then Marburg, first cousin. So there is an outbreak of Marburg right now in Tanzania. There are a couple little spots. There's always a couple little spots of Ebola, usually in the Congo, but nobody pays attention to what goes on in the Congo, the poor Congo,
So bad for Africa. Africa, it's like they're like a petri dish for everything.
Well, yes and no. They could probably be a testing ground.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I was just going to say that. Yes.
Yeah, they're trying everything there.
Okay, so the story right now is it'll be Marburg. Marburg would shut down the world and kill a lot of people very quickly, and it would scare you beyond being scared. Okay, you would wish to be an extra in the movie Contagion rather than to be around for a Marburg outbreak. Turns out, and I found a paper. I didn't think I brought that paper with me. Scientists were able to aerosolize Marburg. Now, normally,
that was my next question.
Marburg or Ebola, human to human transmission. Okay. But if in fact you created Marburg, or even if you found it in a monkey in the Congo, and you were able to grow it in the lab, they aerosolized it. So they got a bunch of Marburg virus and they put it in their little aerosol spray. They sprayed it into the room. Yeah, you can spray it in the room and it'll stay there for 24 hours, continuing to be infectious. Well, if you can aerosolize Marburg, then you can aerosolize Marburg. And that would be a fine way to spread it everywhere all at once and kill a bunch of people before they knew what was happening.
What's the gestation?
The incubation period.
Sorry.
Maybe 5 days. I think maybe 5 days. 5 to 7 days.
Now, is that natural or do you think that's engineered? Do you think they engineered it to make it longer?
No. I think there's some things you don't have to toy with.
I guess.
Some things. Okay. Now, it would seem to me, based on my retrospective analysis of the COVID pandemic, that they aerosolized SARS-CoV-2. In fact, recently, as a result of David Martin's presentation to the European Parliament about a month ago, where he cited a patent for a an infectious replication defective coronavirus. That sounds like a lot. Let me walk you through that.
Yeah, please.
It's really important. Let me just see if I happen to have that here. I'm going to need a bigger desk.
Next time.
Here it is. UNC Chapel Hill files a patent 7279327. Methods for producing recombinant coronavirus. And this goes on to describe...
Recombinant?
Piece it together.
Okay.
Work that was done to create an infectious replication defective coronavirus. Okay, so let's take this one step at a time. What does the word infectious mean to you? Top of your head.
Foreign body invading.
Okay, what happens after it invades?
You get sick.
Right. So some agent comes into you and makes you sick.
Right.
Okay. Jasmine, what makes a say, influenza, which can come into you and make you sick, different from mustard gas that gets into you and makes you sick? Both of them get into you and make you sick. What's different about influenza virus compared to mustard gas?
The virus is alive?
Well, viruses are not specifically alive. What else can viruses do that mustard gas can't do?
Replicate.
Yes. Give that man 100 on his pop quiz. That's exactly right. So mustard gas gets in you, it stays in you. Okay, it might get into Jasmine and stays in her. She's
But
not going
wouldn't it be considered like live in order to replicate?
No.
No?
No. We'll go over,
Not a virus?
We can go over that. Just okay, let's just take it
Okay.
Hey, I got it right.
You got it right.
Don't steal it from me.
So there's one shining moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry. Good job.
So I remember telling you that in the last interview. I said you would make a good medical student.
You did say that.
Not
I
me.
did. So mustard gas you can't spread mustard gas to her. Okay. She can spread influenza to you. The reason she can spread influenza is because the virus gets into her and replicates. And because it's replicating inside your cells, it gets shed. It comes out in your sputum or whatever. You sneeze and boom, the virus goes to him. That virus makes him sick, gives him the flu. Mustard gas doesn't do that. Sarin doesn't do that. Chlorine gas doesn't do that. Okay? So chlorine gas is a poison, pure and simple. Okay? There are bioweapons like smallpox. So the U.S. military took blankets from its soldiers that had smallpox and it gave them to the American Indians.
Right.
That smallpox was on the blankets, and the American Indians who'd never seen smallpox wiped them out. Okay? So that's real biowarfare. That's a bioweapon that can replicate and you can pass it. Okay. We'll come to Marburg and monkeypox, which can be actually are bioweapons. Okay. So there are chemical weapons, and then there are bioweapons, and then there are the old-fashioned weapons, the guns and the knives and the bombs. Okay. This particular patent, in my view, was one of the first, if not the first, biochemical weapon. Let's look at the title again. Infectious. It's not infectious the way we understand infectious. It's infectious insofar as it can get into you. Mustard gas is not infectious. This, because it was replication defective, was not an infectious agent. It was just a pure poison. They call it infectious because they created it from a virus, but it's not a virus. This particular biochemical weapon, this poison, is able to get in, okay, and attach to your cells, okay, the way a virus would do so, but it can't get out. This is SARS-CoV-2. This doesn't get out. This is the patent. It gets in, it doesn't get out. Masks are not going to help you. Social distancing is not going to help you. You don't make a vaccine to a poison.
Right.
Okay. We'll just leave that on the table for a moment.
You make a vaccine to exacerbate a poison.
That's exactly right. Now we're going to turn you into the mustard gas factory. Okay. Now you're going to spew mustard gas all throughout your body.
Yeah.
And you might even spew it on her. Nice try. And the other thing that this is not, that proves that this is not something that comes from nature, is that the Supreme Court made it very clear in its decision, in the Myriad Genetics decision, that you cannot patent something that occurs in nature. You cannot patent something that occurs in nature. You can't patent a coronavirus. This is an infectious, replication defective chemical poison, and that's why they could patent it, because it doesn't occur in nature. It's just
There's
a
a
poison.
patent on that?
This is a patent. There it is, 727-9327.
You just read it.
It's a patent.
There was so much on there.
I know.
I think last time she brought some journal articles. And I was
You zoned out in
over.
the interview.
Yeah, well, I photocopied
Yeah.
it at the end.
So when David Martin was presenting this, I was like, I want to take a look at that, and he was like, "This is a bioweapon," and I'm like, "It's replication defective." Now, David Martin's obviously a smart guy. I'm not going to argue. He's the smartest guy in the room. Okay, but I think he missed it. I think that the full appreciation of this, in my view, is that this is not a virus. It's not a coronavirus. It's not a bioweapon. It's a biochemical. It's a poison. It's a poison for which masks and social distancing and vaccines cannot work because you can't make a vaccine against mustard gas. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. You can't. You can make an antidote, but you can't make a vaccine.
Right.
Okay. Let's talk about monkeypox. So monkeypox is a kind of a pox virus, belongs to the same family as smallpox. And monkeypox spreads human to human. All of our information on monkeypox, mostly in Africa. That's where they like to cook these things up, it looks like. Human to human, homosexual contact, by and large. That's what it appears. Some heterosexual, but mostly homosexual. Okay. But it's not highly contagious. It's never been highly contagious. The outbreaks occur, and they're very well contained, and then they tend to go away. So let's look at a virus that was not highly contagious, that was spread among homosexuals. What comes to mind?
AIDS.
HIV.
Yeah.
Exactly. HIV. So there was an outbreak in San Francisco. There was an outbreak in New York. And how long did it take HIV? Now, there was sex everywhere. We're talking about the early 80s. Okay. Right. Everybody was still having sex like it was the 60s, right? Okay. Lots of international travel, lots of gay bars, blah, blah, blah. How long did it take for HIV to go from the United States into 4 countries?
I don't know. I don't even have a good guess.
Jasmine, jump in.
I have no idea.
6 months.
2 years.
2 years.
2 years for HIV. If all that sex, all that travel, nobody social distancing, nobody using... Okay. 2 years to go into 4 countries. How long did it take monkeypox to get into 60 countries?
60?
Recently, you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was that, like a couple of weeks?
2 months.
2 months?
1 country every day. 1 new country every day. Now, and the majority of those people, and we've got published papers up one street and down the next, the majority of those people didn't know each other. I mean, the guys in San Francisco knew the guys in New York, okay? They knew each other, okay? Yeah. Nevertheless, the majority of people who came down with monkeypox, was about a year ago, did not know each other. Had to get around, had to get 60 countries in 60 days, and the majority of these people didn't know.
60 countries in 60 days.
And then all of a sudden it went flat. It went totally underground.
Yeah, it disappeared.
Yes, I remember there were these outbreaks. And then, like you said, all of a sudden you just didn't hear about it anymore.
Well, so I saw that and I was like, and a friend of mine who was also at McGill, who had been in charge of smallpox for WHO, and she and I used to laugh. She said, I'm in charge of smallpox for the WHO. Smallpox doesn't exist. It's a great job, okay? So monkeypox breaks out, and she gets pulled over. Now she's in charge of monkeypox. And I'm like, and I'm looking at I'm like, what? 3 more countries, 10 more. I'm like, how in the world? This is weaponized. So then I look for the paper that shows that monkeypox can be aerosolized. Yeah, there's a paper out there that shows monkeypox can be aerosolized. So when I saw that, I was able to brief a very senior general. My little network, the 4 or 5 people I know, no other people. Okay. And so I called up one of my constitutional attorney friend guys. Okay. And I said, they've weaponized monkeypox. They've aerosolized it. And he goes, what? Of course, he doesn't know what I'm talking about. But he does know this general. He said, I'm going to put you on the phone with the general tomorrow. So here I was, like, doing my first briefing for the 3-star, And he was a very, very nice guy. And I said, this is why I think they weaponized monkeypox and aerosolized it. And he said, well, where did they get it? So we know, based on the lineage, that this monkeypox circulating past 12 months is a direct descendant from an outbreak in Nigeria. Genetically. Okay? Irrefutable evidence. We can do the genome. Dates right back there to 2019. And so the general said, well, you know, how did they do it? And I'm like, so then I go to the NIH website, and I'm like, type in BSL, BSL3, BSL4 labs, Africa. Idiots. They're idiots. They say right on the website that they have like 8 or 10. The United States funds 8 or 10 BSL3 labs in Nigeria. In Nigeria, where they had a huge monkeypox outbreak. Okay, like 3, 4, 5 years ago. This is a direct lineage. I said to the general, it's in the lab. It's in one of those labs, I can assure you. Because when they've got monkeypox outbreaks in Africa, in Nigeria, they send the specimen to the BSL3 lab, one of 8 or 10 in the country. Okay, and that's where they study it. And I'm like, yeah, somebody just overnighted that, FedEx that to wherever it goes, the Ukraine, wherever they do this.
Yeah.
And it was aerosolized and dispersed. So monkeypox was not, it wasn't the next big thing. In my view, this is just me, okay? I think it was just, let's see if we can do it. Yeah, we can do it. We did it with SARS-CoV-2. We called that a virus. We called that a novel virus. I think it was just a biochemical weapon. And we scared everybody into thinking that it was contagious. So, oh my God, I'm going to get it from you. Well, you're getting it from the air.
Right.
Okay. And you have to social distance, put on a mask, but don't worry because here's a vaccine. Okay. So now we're going to turn our job of killing you over to you. You're not going to kill yourself.
Yeah, you're going to volunteer it.
Hey, drink some hemlock. Why not? Okay. So I think monkeypox was another way to test dispersal methods. How fast could they disperse it? Yeah, they can get it out there pretty fast. Now, the problem with going with monkeypox as the next killer is this. The baby boomers have been vaccinated against smallpox, and smallpox provides about an 85% lifetime immunity to monkeypox. They cross-react. So if you have, I was vaccinated against smallpox as a child. If I were to bump into monkeypox, I probably stand a good chance of being able to survive monkeypox because I'm immune against smallpox, except for those people who were vaccinated because all bets are off. I have no idea what the vaccine did to your immune system, right. But you got baby boomers who have immunity to smallpox. You've got maybe a 30% mortality with smallpox, monkeypox, maybe much less with monkeypox. The Congo variety of monkeypox has a higher mortality rate. There's not a high mortality rate with monkeypox, as you know, because people just weren't dying. You know, 1 or 2 maybe, most. Mm-hmm. So you don't get a high mortality rate with monkeypox. So I think monkeypox was just sort of a dress rehearsal for the main show. Marburg, I think, is the main show.
Wow.
Okay. That would be the most likely thing. If I were going to try and kill everybody all at once, I would go, let's do Marburg. Now, here's the thing.
Where did Marburg originate, if you know?
In Africa.
In Africa?
That's one in Tanzania?
The outbreak now is in Tanzania. Okay, so as soon as I heard Marburg coming to town, coming to a theater near you. Okay. I was like, okay, ready to the rescue. Okay. So I was like, okay, what is the cell membrane receptor for Marburg? Why would I want to know what is the cell membrane receptor for Marburg? Because the cell membrane receptor for SARS-CoV-2 is the ACE2 receptor. Remember that?
I remember hearing that.
Okay. So how does the virus get into the cell? Because it can't just plow into the cell. It's got to get in through a receptor, a door. It has the key to that door. That door is locked unless you have the key. That door is the receptor. There are all kinds of receptors. ACE2 receptor, that's where SARS gets in. SARS can attach to the ACE2 receptor, can turn the knob and get in, okay? So if you block that with ivermectin or with vitamin D3, it's not going to get in. So the question I had when I'm like, oh, good, they're going to do Marburg on us. Okay. What's the cell membrane receptor for Marburg? So I did a search, Google search, Scholar Google search. And don't you know back in, this is 2015. Yeah, 2015.
They cited
Researchers at the University of Illinois, who obviously were not part of the plot to kill us all with Marburg, okay? These were just regular old scientists at the University of Illinois Department of Microbiology, and they were like, what are the receptors for Marburg? Okay, because, you know, Marburg could become a problem. Everybody's worried. It could be Ebola, it could be Marburg. I don't think these guys were thinking they're going to weaponize it. I think they were just like, you know, good old boys, let's figure out what the receptor is. What can we do? So there are 4 different types of receptors that Marburg could use to get in, and one of them is a histamine receptor. How would you block a histamine receptor?
with antihistamine.
I was just going to say the same thing.
I'm telling you, he's going to graduate.
There you go.
We're going to give him an honorary degree,
doctor is in.
like in the Wizard of Oz, right? We're going to give him his degree. An antihistamine. So they tested prescription antihistamines. And antihistamines, these prescription antihistamines, were very effective at preventing Marburg infection. So I looked at these antihistamines, okay? And I was like, wow, an antihistamine. So can you think of sort of a commonly available antihistamine?
Benadryl.
Benadryl. So I'm like, Benadryl can prevent Marburg infection?
Wow.
Are you kidding me? So I was like, okay, let me look into this, okay, before I get too excited. So I looked at the paper again. I'm like, I looked up Benadryl, and Benadryl is a powerful antihistamine, very powerful, very effective. It's been replaced by others because it really makes you sleepy.
Yeah.
But whatever. I read it, and
love it.
And then I got in touch with another physician, very highly credentialed, qualified physician, and I said, would you take a look at this paper and take a look at Benadryl and see what you think? Do you think Benadryl would work? And she looked at it and she said, absolutely. Absolutely. So then I said, okay, this is great. You and I agree. Let's get an expert in here, okay? Because, like, I'm pretty smart, you're pretty smart, but, you know, we're not experts on this. So I found, God sent me, don't you know, like 3 days later, introduced me to a woman who is a pharmacologist, professor of biochemistry. Right, professor, pharmacology and biochemistry.
Yeah.
And I sent her the paper and I said, do you think Benadryl would be an effective preventive? And she said, absolutely. I was like, okay, we're done. Benadryl.
Well,
now I can't promise you. I can't promise you.
Right.
Okay. We're not going to do any clinical studies where we're going to give 10,000 people Marburg virus and 5,000 of them are going to get Benadryl and 5,000 are going to get sugar pill.
Yeah,
we're not going to do that. Okay. What we might want to do is get some Benadryl and have it in the house.
Yeah.
And if there is, all hell breaks loose, those of us who have been able to step forward to tell you what to do in a crisis, we'll put our heads together very quickly and let you know what to do if it looks like it's Marburg and how much Benadryl to take. Here's the good news. The people who were diagnosed and survived Marburg in Africa in the 1970s, those who survived have lifelong immunity to Marburg. Lifelong immunity.
Wow.
So all you would really need to do if this were to work, if Benadryl were to work, would be to just survive being exposed.
And then you're good.
And then you're good to go.
Wow.
Benadryl.
No promises. I just think, I bought a lifetime supply for $30.
You can sleep right through the whole thing.
That's right.
There you go.
No one
Just
is going to be
wake me up
like
with
using heavy
second
machinery.
Yeah.
No. Because if it were Marburg, you would not open the front door. You would not. You would live on whatever's in the house. Okay, you would not pay your bills. They would turn the lights off. You would stay inside. And we would be able to tell you when to take your Benadryl, how much to take, and for how long to take it.
I have Benadryl.
So do I.
Get more.
I will.
Yeah, I'm gonna get more. I'm gonna get however
Get
long
more.
it takes. I'm gonna get more.
As a matter of fact, a friend of
Costco
mine.
supply.
No, a friend of mine. He's in Virginia, so I told him about it. He was a little skeptical, and I was like, okay. I said, let me check this out. So I said I checked it out with another very qualified physician, and we checked it out with a professor of biochemistry and pharmacology. He goes, okay. So then he was like, okay, I better get some Benadryl. So he goes to the pharmacy, and they would only let him get 3 boxes. They wouldn't let him get. He walks to the counter with 6. They would only let him buy 3.
So I think this is a good place to segue into also talking about the drug shortages that's taking place. It's actually highly
I wasn't even aware of
concerning.
that till Ankish, who was a pharmacist, by the way.
I brought that up.
Last. Well, you brought it up, yeah, but I wasn't aware of it till we had that conversation with
Yes.
Ankish.
Yeah. It's been reported that it's a whole wide range of medication.
Yes.
Especially, life-saving cancer, drugs. And I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? Especially being that you're a cancer specialist and
Well, I knew that there was a supply chain problem about a year and a half ago. There was, an epinephrine shortage that was staged.
I was going to say, if we can make and roll out enough, vaccines.
Oh, yeah.
If you can do that for everybody and even mess up batches and come up with these new batches.
Right. But there's not enough epinephrine. Oh, dear. Or propofol. Okay. But that seemed to have abated. But tonight, I learned, this is my first, experience with this, a cancer patient of mine said he can no longer get any of his pain medication. He has stage 4, but he's in remission. But he can no longer get any of his pain medication. And I said about the other medication that he's taking, I said, how much do you have of that? He said, I have enough through August. I said, get enough for the rest of the year. Okay. I'm hearing from him tonight. He has a friend with lung cancer, can't get his chemo. Okay. China makes all the medications. India supplies the raw materials to China that makes the medications. China is obviously shutting down the supply chain. Whether they're doing that to put the squeeze on us because they're getting ready to go to the gold standard, I don't know what the hell's going on. But the supply chain is now in a state of collapse. Get your Benadryl. Any other medications that you feel you need, get it. If you can't get it from your regular local pharmacy, start calling compounding pharmacies. Some compounding pharmacies have run out of the raw ingredients to compound the medications. I do know from another patient who is a cancer patient with pain, and she took turmeric for pain. So I told my patient tonight, I said, try turmeric. I don't know if it works. CBD cream.
Turmeric works great. I take turmeric every day.
Well, apparently it may work for pain. I know that CBD cream, works amazing on pain. Amazing. And it's peculiar because this is now starting to make sense to me today. I order it. I just like to have it. I can tell you some stories about my own personal injuries and then using CBD cream. And I'm like, you would think the Archangel Raphael was like putting his feathered arms all over it. I can't even believe how fast it works.
Wow.
So I started ordering it, a subscription. Okay. Amazon's no longer delivering it. They don't know when it's coming in, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, really? I think I've got 3 jars in the house. I'm just like, like after the Boston Tea Party, counting your tea leaves, okay? So if you can get and you probably still can, even if you can't, get it from Amazon, there are a lot of head shops around and so forth. Get your hands on plenty of CBD cream. It works very well for pain, just topically. If you have bone pain, put it on. If you have a sprained wrist, put it on everywhere. So turmeric, CBD cream for pain, and then stay tuned for alternatives with regard to medications that might be able to help you if you all of a sudden don't have access to your chemotherapy.
Right. That's wild.
Yeah.
So
stock up now.
Yeah, I know.
Depopulation at its finest.
Well,
right.
Since we
I think all of it leads to depopulation.
Yeah. I mean, they need to get rid of a lot of us.
Yeah, a lot.
I mean, really, 90% is about what they need to.
How many kids, going back to kids, how many kids do you think are bound to lose the ability to procreate because of everything that they're going through? Surgeries, drugs, hormone blockers, everything.
Okay, so I'm going to take you to another whole place.
Love that.
Yeah, so Gompertz, Gompertz, was a Dutch mathematician. Actuarial. I think he's actuarial. Mathematician, same thing.
They're a special breed, actuaries.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, they're special.
Yeah. They make accountants look exciting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've only known a couple.
So Gompertz was able to mathematically understand the growth of populations and what happens to populations as they grow. So populations grow very, very quickly, and then they top out. So the rate of growth slows, and then it plateaus. And Larry Norton at Memorial Sloan Kettering, the only reason I know about this is Larry Norton was aware of the Gompertzian growth curve, and he applied that to tumors and chemotherapy. And what he discovered was that Gompertzian growth with regard to populations applies to populations of tumor cells. So if you start with a few tumor cells, they grow very rapidly until they sort of max out on the resources. The growth slows and it plateaus. If you kill them, if you kill the population down to about where it started, it will zip back up again very quickly and plateau. So the question is, would the children, our children, the world's children now, are they going to be undone? Will the world be undone by the genocide, by the sterilization that has resulted from the COVID vaccinations, from the spike protein, from the transgenderism? Well,
that's the scariest one to me.
All of
the
it.
Transgender.
Well, are you going to mutilate yourself? I mean, really?
What about the abortions?
And the abortion. All
late term abortions.
Late term. So all of that is a way to depopulate.
Yeah.
And then you're going to throw a pandemic on top of it, and you're going to throw Marburg on top of it. Okay. So what's going to happen is you're not going to win. Not going to happen. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Okay. You're not going to win, and then what will happen? This is what the baby boomers were all about. What was the baby boomer thing? What was that? Why did that happen? Why were the baby boomers? Why?
Coming home from war and living prosperous life, I thought.
Well, living a prosperous life and living a sexually active life.
Yeah.
Because those are soldiers over there, okay? And their wives and girlfriends are over here.
Right.
And they're back.
Right. Yeah,
hello. Glad to have you home. Here's some children. Okay. 76 million children were born. Okay. So you separate men and women in the period of war.
Right.
And then you bring them back together and you have a baby boom. So however it is that you arrange to annihilate procreation, by convincing people that they're not the sex that they are, all this nonsense, trying to kill them, trying to sterilize them. What will happen is nature will prevail. And after we're on the other side of this, we are going to get to the other side of this. I don't think this is the end of the world for us. I don't think it's the end for the United States either. I think we're in for a big battle royale, but I don't think it's the end of us. We will win. And then we will start having babies again like nobody's business. So, I would buy Toys R Us at 10 cents a share and hold.
Yeah.
And hold. Buy and hold.
I agree with you. I mean, I don't think there is it depends on what you how you define win or how they define lose. Really more so. Because I don't see the people us like-minded like us. I don't see us losing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But is that winning for them?
Okay.
I mean, because we're still going to have a catastrophic loss, no matter how you look at it. So,
yeah.
I don't know. It who's getting what they want?
Well, will good prevail over evil?
Yeah.
Really? 'Cause that's
but
the-
like you
that's the
just
big
said,
question.
but like you just said, it's almost like that constant, like that seesaw that happens. Like if you don't, like a cancer cell, if you don't get it all, it zooms right back up. You know, so if we don't get rid of all the evil, it's just going to
But
be
if you stop
cyclical.
if you stop it from growing, it
It'll
dies. If you can stop it from growing, it dies. So even what we're doing here, okay, we're stopping it from growing.
That
Right.
should be
Yeah, that's true.
that should be the title of this.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for that.
You're
Okay.
driving it home. Yeah, but
Okay.
just with our
Yeah.
conversation.
Just this, and even if we only 10 people hear it, okay, we're stopping it
stopping it,
here. Okay. So here is where we're going to go into physics, or we're going to go into actually metaphysics for a moment.
Cool.
So there's such a thing as a field. You understand what a field is, right? So a magnetic field, right? So there's a magnetic field, there's an electromagnetic field, okay? And anything, there's a gravitational field, and anything that comes into that field, any mass that comes into the field, is impacted by that field. So if you take a magnet and you take metal filings, and you put a magnet, under it like that, then the filings will follow the magnet, right? That's like, grade school. Oh, it's tropical. What's that? What's going on? It's a magnetic field. Okay, fine. Okay. Fields cannot be destroyed. Energy,
right,
is a result of a field. Fields cannot be destroyed. Energy cannot be created or destroyed.
just changes.
They're permanent. They're infinite. They're permanent. Those fields cannot be destroyed. Gravitational field cannot be destroyed. Mass can be destroyed. We're going to die. Okay. Our sun is going to supernova. The Milky Way is going to run into the Andromeda, and that's going to be a big boom at some point. Yeah, mass can be destroyed. Mass can be created. Mass can be destroyed. But fields cannot. So the field, in fact, is more powerful than the mass it gives rise to. So the whole thing with the Higgs boson and the Higgs field, and probably at the end, you should attach, to this interview. You can pull it off of YouTube. The scientific announcement, I believe it was in CERN, when scientists proved that the Higgs boson existed. And they did all of their hocus pocus, particle physics, and everybody comes into this small amphitheater, and Higgs is there, and they're presenting equations that you would just go blind trying to read from one end of the paper to the other. And at the end, they were like, yes, it exists. Everybody applauds, and Higgs goes on to win the Nobel Prize and so forth. That field, the Higgs field, under the right circumstances, gives rise to mass. So the field can neither be created nor destroyed, right? But it can create, as a result, mass. The field is always more powerful than the mass it gives rise to. Okay, so what's the field? We believe in God frame of mind, it's God, and it's good, and it's eternal. So we may have all this evil, destructive stuff, which in my view is just a way of clarifying things, really. I think all this evil and destruction is clarifying, but that's more philosophic. I think as long as we maintain what is good and try and do what is right and honest and try and stop the growth of things that are destructive, the field will be more powerful. So in the United States, we have a field of a belief in the rule of law and human rights. We have a Bill of Rights. We have a body of law. Even children at the age of 3 will whine and say, it's not fair, it's not fair. How do children at the age of 3 know it's not fair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How do they know? They drive you crazy. She has ice cream. I know it's not fair. Yeah. What's fair all about? It's not right. That's the field. So.
You got it.
Yep.
That's an interesting way of
I'm gonna definitely read into that a little bit more, to be honest.
Yeah, attach that
will.
video
I
of
will.
Higgs, because that was such a fantastic. That was actually
We're going to be attaching a lot of things to this.
yeah. it was
Our new
it was
favorite.
as good as the lunar landing. That whole skit.
Yeah,
was-
I'm interested to learn more about that for sure.
What else?
I don't know. I don't even know where to go. I wanted to say before that I wanted to make a point that I heard Jordan Peterson say, which I thought he's just a genius. But he brought up a good point. It was more or less like how the other side, the evil people, they're evil, don't get me wrong, but they're actually really smart in how they're trying to manipulate. And he brought up a really good point that some woman in, I forget who it was exactly, but she had said that she has 2 children. One is pansexual, one is transsexual. And he did the math on it, and he's like, what are the odds that you have a transsexual child is 1 in 3,000?
Yeah.
And what are the odds that you have a child that's pansexual?
Yeah.
And he even said, he goes, I don't know even what that is. No one knew what it was till 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And he goes, what are the odds of that? Has to be even more, but we'll say it's 1 in 3,000.
Yeah.
That the odds you have both is 1 in 9 million.
Yeah.
And then he said, what are the odds that, there was more to this, but he said, what are the odds that you're a devouring mother? It's 899,999 to 1.
Yeah.
So like these parents are almost virtue signaling with their children.
Yeah.
Right. So how did
And
that
it's
happen?
disgusting.
So I remember, I think I mentioned to you before we got on the show here about the blood-brain barrier.
Yep.
Okay. So the blood-brain barrier is it's a biochemical membrane shield that protects the brain from a lot of what goes on outside the brain, which is pretty important because you really do need the brain to get around. And so the brain needs to be protected.
Some people get along just fine without
They
it.
appear to do. Okay. So there's a blood-brain barrier that keeps a lot of stuff out. Now, there are things that easily cross the blood-brain barrier. So nitrous oxide does, alcohol does, cannabis does, okay, anesthetic gases do. But there are large molecules that don't cross the blood-brain barrier. So the brain is protected. Now, these are masses, right? They're masses, molecules. There's another way to cross the blood-brain barrier. What do you think? How else? If you can't get a molecule into the brain, what else could you get into the brain? And how else could you get into the brain? The sort of
PSYOP, I would think.
Light. This is all light.
TV.
This is all light.
Yeah.
These are electrons. This is light. Okay. Electrons, photons.
Yeah.
Okay. That's light.
Sure.
Right straight into the eye, captured by the optic nerve. The optic nerve is a nerve that comes out of the brain. Okay. So they've got a nerve that comes right out of the brain, is attached to the retina, coming in through the cornea, and the lens is light.
Got it.
Okay. Screens.
Yeah. It's funny.
Screens.
My big awakening, I should say, is like when I feel like I learned the most when I stopped watching television.
Yeah.
I really do. I really do. It's
But
like
also-
everything became so clear the second I wasn't being fed information that was wrong.
Yeah.
But also, I agree with you, but I felt like, with the whole thing with the internet, like I would just get sucked in as well.
Yeah, it's
and
addictive.
that it really is. It really is. And even though, I'm
still
like
addicted. I'm still
looking into things and reading up on things, but also the light. I feel like it's just so damaging as well because I'll have to literally pull myself away.
Yes. Yeah.
And then look at the time and say, oh, wow, it's been 10 hours.
Yeah.
I know. I lost a
Where's
day.
the day?
I actually have a hypothesis that a lot of the violence that is being instilled is coming through online porn.
Yes. I think
Right?
there's been.
Yeah. I actually
studies
think, it's just that. So men are easily addicted to porn. And so you make it sort of free and completely available.
Yep.
And there is sort of an insatiability about that, right?
Because it gets more graphic and then, it desensitizes.
In terms of calories, you could probably eat a whole cake. I could probably eat a whole cake if I was asked to eat a whole cake.
Where's she going with this porn calories?
Okay, so but I'm saying at some point you get full. This is not true with sex. This is basically, it's not, okay, so there's not a feedback loop for I'm done when it comes to sex. There's usually a feedback loop with, okay, I've had enough. Okay, now I'm going to go take a nap. Okay. So if you have something that is as triggering and addictive as online porn for men who are naturally just aggressive anyway because of their testosterone, and then you add whatever the light waves are to add violence, because in fact, sex is a violent act if you think about it. Doesn't have to be violent in terms of being offensive, but physiologically, okay, it's a penetration, so it's violent. If you then add electromagnetic radiation to that and you imbue that with more violence and you target young adolescent men, okay, it doesn't take much for the guy behind the screen to figure out that guy is very vulnerable, and they'll go hard on him so that he gets the assault rifle and somebody knows to give him the assault rifle, okay, and all of a sudden he shows up at the bar. Okay, that's not random. That's planned. That's targeted and that's planned.
Oh yeah, I think they're all created.
Yeah, this is
a lot of these people are created, I think.
I mean, before, Pornhub and the other sites had blown up. I mean, think about all the really violent and graphic sexual video games.
Oh, right.
And
video games are huge.
It was Grand Theft Auto. It was all these other ones. But for years, and you didn't even see children playing outside anymore. Everybody was, sucked into these games. And then you were able to, I guess, connect with other players and like team up together, go take out these characters. But it just
video games are
so
violent.
Aggressive.
They are.
And then,
right.
and then I just felt like it was, then it led to the porn. And now it's like, Pornhub is mainstream. It really is.
Right.
It's really interesting that you were talking about, the violence in connection with the light, because
I think it makes total sense.
Yeah. Turn off the screen.
Yeah.
Turn off the screen.
Yeah, wake up and turn off the screen for sure.
Yeah, stop the growth.
Yeah, stop the growth. Yeah, exactly. Stop feeding it.
I mean, we're over 2 hours.
Are we really?
Yeah, we're over 2 hours.
This is like a Patrick Bet David thing.
Yeah, we're over 2 hours of what
Substance.
we're using.
Yeah. We still got pages to go.
So I don't know. We could always continue this again.
Yeah. So I'm going to suggest that we stop talking. And wrap.
Yeah.
And then I will get back to you hopefully in the near future.
Sure.
And
we'll be staying kind of decent content.
Yeah.
For sure.
For the next, big thing.
Yeah. I texted her the minute I heard about monkeypox. I was like, what do you think of this?
Got it.
I have my own thoughts, but what do you think?
Yeah, got it covered. Yeah, I think, actually, to sum it up, I think they're running out of options. I think if they thought they were going to kill us with Marburg, we're on to them with Benadryl.
I don't think they inoculated enough people.
With what?
With the vaccine. Or the vaccine.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I don't think they hit the number they wanted to hit.
Oh, no. No, you'd have to get a much higher hit rate. 30%. 30% of people, it seems like, we're not vaccinated. Might be higher, but 30%. 30% left standing, unvaccinated. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. So you were talking 90 million, a little over 90 million people with guns.
Yeah.
Who are not vaccinated.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who were vaccinated with guns who like, I'm not getting a booster. And they're like, and I know somebody who died and, somebody who had cancer, so you have some of those.
They didn't hit their mark. Without a doubt, they didn't hit their mark. They wouldn't be giving away everything just to get you to take a shot.
Look, I got to tell you, 90 people with guns is just more than you can handle. And if it's 90 people with guns and Benadryl, then you got a real problem.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I will definitely be getting some Benadryl. But yeah, let's wrap it up there. I think that's a pretty good ending. Thank you so much for coming again. One of the show's favorite guests by far. Anytime you want to do it, you let me know.
Thank you.
Jasmine, thank you. And thank you guys.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
This is a very, very preliminary result, but we think it's very strong. It's very solid. Otherwise, we wouldn't present it. And we've slowly, as we've gathered data, rediscovered the standard model to more and more rare processes, and basically we're very confident now that we can go after the rarest, which is the Higgs. If we combine the ZZ and gamma-gamma, this is what we get. They line up extremely well, and in the region of 125 GeV, they combine to give us a combined significance of 5 standard deviations.
Should I say that I'm pleased?
Congratulations.
I think it's obvious.
This is still mine, right?
This is yours, yes.
As a layman, I would now say, I think we have it. You agree? Yeah. Okay.